Hey everybody, this is Rob with Rob B's Reef, and today we're going to talk about mixing station maintenance. All right, and here we have my mixing station that's been disassembled. Over on the left is the salt bin that has the scaling residue, algae, and other deposits. Looks bad enough, but nothing prepares us for the little shop of horrors I like to call my RODI bin, and that's what we see here. So built up over the course of the year, we're going to remove all of this throughout the video. Next, I'll go over a couple of the things that I use for my annual maintenance. A lot of this stuff is optional. None of this stuff is mandatory. I'm not saying you have to clean your mixing station. This is just what I do. So one of the first things you have to have, if you have a larger mixing station, is a way to get in there and scrub. This is a ice scraper for, I think they make these for more trucks because of the telescoping feature, so I like that. You can get down in there. That's useless. This is what I'm after. It's a handy thing to get down there and scrub. If you already have a pressure washer, they work really good. I have this 3000 PSI unit. Something lighter can certainly work. Again, none of this is mandatory. Use what you have if you use it. Not saying run out and buy a super expensive power washer. That one was $350 at the time of this video. My old one broke. I use it for the driveway, the house, a plethora of other things. But I will advise, don't cheap out on a power washer. You'll be sorry if you skimp on power tools. Speaking to all you guys out there, you know what happens. Next, chemicals. Bleach. Some people might be a little anxious about bleach with reefing systems. There are a plethora of ways to dechlorinate. I'll go through the methods that I use, and this is year 3. I've not killed any fish. I've not nuked my reef tank with bleach, but just take some precautions. I'm not saying I'm Captain Safety Monitor team here, but I always go through several things when I'm using bleach. That takes care of our bacterial issues and should nullify any of the issues that I'm having with the algae and things like that, diatoms and whatnot. Then we have muriatic acid, which is just 30% hydrochloric acid for most places that you buy it for pool cleaning. I use this to remove the scaling from calcium deposits and the anti-caking that I'm finding with Instant Ocean. That's no secret out there. It's okay. I just like to clean that out. Again, not a mandatory thing. If you have severe stains and things that aren't coming off with the brush, certainly use the muriatic acid or skip it. Bleach, if you don't want to use it, skip it. But take it out, scrub it out, flush it out. That is something I do highly recommend at least once a year if you're doing with this. I certainly wish that people would comment in the video section below. I'd like to hear your experience with your annual maintenance and your trials and tribulations. Maybe I'm the only guy that cross-contaminates his saltwater mixing bin stations from the various avenues that you could with your reef tank, whether it's your display, maybe it's your sump, maybe it's your frag tank, but at some point you're gonna stick your hand someplace. If you're absent-minded like I am, these things happen. I can do better. But this is what I do regardless. Let me know what you think. In case there's anybody out there who's not familiar with a pressure washer, maybe you wanted to get one, maybe you're looking for an excuse. They're pretty simple devices. A lot of them come with 1200 PSI and up. You'll see a vast price range difference. I warn you against the cheaper models. I've not had good luck with electric powered ones. These gas-powered ones make a huge difference, but there's a significant price jump in between the electric ones and the gas-powered ones. Your results may vary depending on the severity of your staining and buildup within your mixing stations. So I'm not trying to recommend this particular brand or any brand. Just do your homework. If you have any experience with it, then you don't need to listen to me. This one, again, is a 3000 PSI unit. It's like 350 bucks. It's very simple to use. You have a hose hookup. You have water in. Put the water in, hook up first, then start your unit and squeeze the trigger and squirt your mixing station until it looks cleaner. All right, guys, don't be like me and be forgetful because you're more worried about making a video. Often not, you're going to have a float valve. Don't forget to remove that because a pressure washer will make short work of that. Fortunately, these aren't expensive and I have a spare, but don't be me. This will transmit in the sunlight, but you can see after pressure washing this is pretty good as far as the visual eye can see, that there's no more staining, there's no green or anything like that, but I know for a fact that there are diatoms, algae cells, and bacteria left in there, so we'll take care of that with the bleach. This is my RODI bin. I'm going to put a solution of bleach and water in here to sterilize it, kill any bacteria and any remaining diatoms and algae cells. I'm not going to throw muriatic acid in this one. It's visually clean. That's fine to me. It doesn't need it. The saltwater mixing bin, however, I'm going to try some muriatic acid on that to get the stains out. In this particular vessel, 65 gallons, I'm taking 350 milliliters of 7.5% sodium hyperchlorite, which is your basically standard bleach with no additives. Here I'm not worried too much about, oh, the bees are good today. Not too worried much about gassing in the case of bleach, but I'm going to fill this container until it overflows. I've got the drains capped off here, and then I'm going to let this sit for 24 hours. This sounds, maybe like it would be a pain in the ass, but honestly, I enjoy the outdoors. It's a fun weekend, relax. This isn't an all-day process. It takes, an hour or two if you're tasked on hand that you get from pressure washing or scrubbing to rinsing and bleaching. You're done pretty quick, and then you can go on your day and enjoy. You just follow up. Hey, break down your setup on a Friday night. Have some spare RODI water in 5-gallon buckets or an alternative, maybe brute trash can if you got a larger system. Have a backup plan, or maybe you're already using an ATO, and then you have a weekend to get through this. So I'll let this sit tonight, and then I'll dechlorinate tomorrow, and by Sunday night this will be back set up, and I'll be making fresh new RODI water. There's a couple online references I use. They're easy calculators. I'll put those links in the description of the video, but basically it's your classic solution calculation, which is C1 times V1 equals C2 times V2, your initial concentration and volume of your initial stock, and then you get your final solution and parts per million, or equivalents of milligrams per liter. On to the dechlorination portion, and to do that I'm going to use these sodium thiosulfate crystals. I just use DIY chemicals, pick any brand that you want. I get them from Amazon. They're very cheap. You can see here that it's not a lot that's needed to dechlorinate. So my assumptions that I'm going by is I'm going to attempt to dechlorinate a 50 parts per million solution of chlorine. That means that I'm assuming there's residual chlorine in there from our bleach to the tune of 50 milliliters. I know that's not the case. There's not 50 milliliters of that bleach solution left on the walls and in the residual pipes area, but I'm going, again, very conservative, and I'm going to mix this up, throw that in there and let it sit for 4 to 6 hours. Most of the assumptions that I go by are to disinfect, you need a 300 to 600 parts per million solution of chlorine, and that 350 milliliters I threw in there landed us around 400 parts per million, but there's no way that that's left in there once I fill that vessel back up with water and we'll dechlorinate in 4 to 6 hours, rinse it out, and then I will complete the process by hauling the RODI bin back into the basement. I'll throw a small fan over the top and dry it out. All right, so you can see that even with a 3000 PSI power washer and a scrub brush, there's some tenacious deposits in there. Probably okay. I'm going to sterilize it anyways, but let's see what the muriatic acid does. All right, so while the RODI bin fills with water and bleach, I'm going to proceed to soak this saltwater mixing bin in water and muriatic acid to try to remove some of those deposits on the bottom. Those deposits in this particular instance don't go much above here for me, so that's all I filled it up to. and that's all the dilution I'm going to take into account. Previous to getting on camera, I didn't want to mess around with it here. I used gloves to remove the safety cap. Wear eye protection. It can splash back very easily when you're dumping it, especially from a distance. You'd be surprised. Gloves. And then this is already filled with water to about maybe a third full to where I'm trying to descale. And from there, I'm just going to dump in the muriatic acid. And I'm going to let this sit for a good few hours. Once I'm done with this, and I will drain it, I'll scrub it again, probably throw a little pressure washer on it, see if the muriatic acid ate into it a bit. That might help. Do what I can to remove all the deposits that I'm trying to for my own benefit. And once I've done that, I'm going to follow the same procedure that I did for chemical sterilization of my RDI bin. I'm going to do it with my saltwater mixing bin as well, because the water transfers between the two stations, so there's no reason for me to think that I don't have the same contamination, because I know I've seen it with regards to diatoms, algae, and I assume bacteria of any sort that I might not want in here. I'll fill this up with the same concentration of bleach to sterilize this. The muriatic acid might take care of that, but remember, I'm not paying for more than I need to, so I'm only going to about a third full to try to descale, but I'll follow the same procedures for sterilization. And one other thing, I've talked about this before on another video, always add acid to water. Don't add water to acid. Don't take this and dump it in there and then put your hose in there and then wonder why you passed out because of all those noxious fumes. Just don't do it. Add acid to water. All right, as you can see, all that scaling is gone, and this looks just about like it's brand new. So hopefully you can tell from that video, but that brown caked on residue is gone. Some of the things that I never took into consideration when I built my mixing station first was maintenance. So consider that if you don't have a mixing station today, consider what that might look like tomorrow. Because the first mixing station I built and plumbed was horrible from a prolonged maintenance standpoint. Breaking it down was a nightmare. One of the first things and only things that I really took away from BRS TV 52 weeks of reefing was there's no such thing as too many unions. Now that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it applies here. Make sure that you can break down your maintenance station in the future for expected or unexpected maintenance issues, right? So whether it's ongoing or unexpected, assume at some point you're going to have to break this thing down and design it to your space that's allotted to you, to your goals, but consider that. So there's no one approach that meets everything. That's my point. I'm hoping you guys get what I'm going after here, is that this is my process. Doesn't mean you have to do this process. I just hope you get a few things out of this that maybe you hadn't considered in the past, or maybe you already had, and then let's discuss that. Thank you very much. And you'd be surprised with, that's a 3,000 gallon per hour